Earth, home to 8 billion people, including those who've never seen a car, held a smartphone, or used the internet. Hidden away in forests and isolated islands around the world are these unique tribes with peculiar traits, strange practices, and a lifestyle reminiscent of the Stone Age. Get ready for a wild adventure as we unveil some of the most unusual tribes in the world. Korowai Tribe. Down in the jungle of Papua resides the Korowai Tribe, a tribe that embraces nature and all that it has to offer while shutting all doors to civilization and technology. In the past, the Korowai tribe also shut doors to contact and practice cannibalism against those considered enemies. But the practice has been reduced in recent years as the tribe gradually opened up to contact. Korowai people had just been discovered 35 years ago in 1978 when a Dutch Reformed Church missionary, Johannes Veldhuizen, had an accidental encounter with the Korowai people. Since then, he tried to find a way to search more of the tribe by using a local guide from the neighboring Sitak tribe. In the past, they often came into conflict with the Sitak people, in which many of the conflicts ended up in headhunting or cannibalism. However, in recent years, they are mostly known for their tree houses. Built on banyan or wanban trees, the houses are made to be 8 to 15 meters off the ground, while some are about 45 meters standing on a tall tree. Don't be surprised, all that it takes to build these houses are tree branches, sago bark, and rattan ropes for fastening. No hammers, screws, or nails. As amazing as these houses are, the construction lasts around 3 days and is worked by the Korowai men. And as scary as they look, the houses are actually safe. Since it is built on a tree, the house has a wooden barrier to prevent little children from falling and a long hanging ladder to climb on. Another strange practice of this tribe is that they count their days by using their houses. A Korowai tree house should last 3 to 5 years before they make a new one. Apart from the common advantage of having a shelter, a tree house boasts a lot of other advantages. First, the people are protected from insects and wild animals. In addition, they also feel a lot safer than in the past, since enemies could come and kidnap their children and wives to be killed or enslaved. But if the tree houses are not strange enough, the Korowai live according to age and gender. Surprisingly, men and women live separately, with the children staying with the women. As soon as the little boys learn the modus operandi of hunting, which includes walking quietly in the jungle for several hours, they can join the men. In the Korowai tribe, women marry very early, while men marry very late. This is because the marriage system requires men to pay a dowry or prepare a feast. Isn't the Korowai tribe just unusually interesting? A tribe that believes so much in love and harmony, but don't be deceived. Conflicts happen a lot, which are usually related to witchcraft, theft, or marriage problems. While witchcraft cannot be easily proven, adultery and the accused will get punishments that could range from cannibalism to murder. While the Korowai tribe live on trees, meet the tribe that lives in the sea, Moken tribe. You can conveniently switch Moken people for sea gypsies, and in fact, that describes them more. The Moken people have lived out on the waters of the Mayek archipelago for hundreds, if not thousands, of years, and in fact, they spend their entire lives on board their kabang boats. They only go ashore to shelter in temporary camps during monsoon season, from the day they're born until the day they die. Shockingly, Moken legend tells that this way of life is a punishment meted out on their people by an ancient queen against her adulterous Moken husband. But it is clear to those who have met and studied them that the Moken do not view their nomadic lives as a punishment. By being on the sea for too long, they have an intimate knowledge of the sea and live entirely off fishing and beachcombing. The Moken people fish by free diving without scuba gear of any kind, which has given them an amazing capacity to hold their breath and unbelievably sharp underwater vision. After scavenging produce from the seabed and water, they use them to barter for rice and petrol with traders from the mainland, which is almost the only contact they have with the outside world. Moken society is composed of extended family groups, each of which lives and travels together in a flotilla and has a family head. The families practice ancestor worship, mediated through a shaman figure, and hold festivals and rituals to appease the spirit world through offerings, trances, and dance. They have a strong belief in an unseen spirit that protects them and guides them in their life journey. But a tribe that does not trust in strength or spirits is the Asaro Mudmen. The way they emerge from the jungle is like a slow incoming tide. They have a kind of dramatic movement that leaves you in confusion, and their gray-coated bodies, finished with oversized fright masks, are shocking and intimidating. Before you know it, you have chills down your spine, wishing you were never in the jungle. They are the Asaro Mudmen, once among Papua New Guinea's poorest people and its rock stars. While most of the over 150 tribes on the island are as colorful as the exotic birds with which they share the jungle, the Mudmen are the least adorned. They go about smeared neck to toe with white clay, keeping to a single file, walking glacially slow, constantly looking left, right, behind, ready for anything. Some of them have arrows knocked in their bows, while others have spears and clubs. Some wear red-painted bamboo on their fingers, extending for several inches, and filed to a razor point, like giant claws. They move about silently, and so you would have mistaken them for ghosts. You must know that many people have been found to go to war with smeared mud, but in the case of the Asaro Mudmen, they wear it to avoid war. Their prowess as warriors has always been inflated, and although literature and legend have ascribed them special martial powers, their only real advantage in a battle is their fierce and scary looks. The Asaro Mudmen believe that if you can generate fear, you do not have to go to war. It all started centuries ago when the Asaro were just shy and retiring jungle dwellers. One day, they were attacked by a much more powerful tribe and fled into the nearby Asaro River. When their assailants reached the river, they came upon figures coated in white and gray river mud. Believing they had encountered the ghost spirits of the Asaro they had killed, the aggressors fled in confused panic. Realizing what had happened, the Asaro decided to take advantage of the situation by coating only their bodies with mud. They spared their faces because the water of the Asaro River is believed to be poisonous. They knew their faces had to be just as scary, so they used rocks, sticks, and whatever they could find to create simple masks. As predicted, when they appeared in this form, their former enemies fled, and the peace-loving Asaro inherited the reputation of fierce warriors. Talking about peace, a tribe that does not really embrace peace is the Sentinelese tribe. You see, only a few people knew about the Sentinelese until the death of an American tourist who illegally visited the isolated North Sentinel Island drew the world's attention to this tribe. They are known to be one of the few uncontacted tribes in the world, and that's partly courtesy of geography because North Sentinel is a small island, off the main shipping routes, surrounded by a shallow reef with no natural harbors. The protective laws enforced by the Indian government are not helping matters, and the fierce defense of the Sentineleise's home and their privacy makes it all mission impossible. But they're not entirely uncontacted. Over the last 200 years, outsiders have visited the island several times, and it often ended badly for both sides. Because no one wants to die just yet, we can't really be sure of their population. However, according to a 2011 census effort, and based on anthropologists' estimates of how many people the island could support, there are probably somewhere between 80 and 150 people on North Sentinel Island, although it could be as many as 500 or as few as 15. The Sentinelese people are related to other indigenous groups in the Andaman Islands, a chain of islands in India's Bay of Bengal, but they've been isolated for long enough that other Andaman. They just live their lives weaving mesh baskets, and they use wooden adzes tipped with iron to cut and shape wood. Salvage crews anchored near the island in the mid-1990s described bonfires on the beach at night and the sounds of people singing. But so far, none of the Sentinelese language is known to outsiders. Since they can't be approached, anthropologists usually make a point to refer to people by the name they use for themselves. But no one outside North Sentinel Island actually knows what the Sentinelese call themselves, let alone how to greet them or ask what their view of the world and their role in it really looks like. One certain thing is that they don't care much for company, and they've expressed that clearly, even without a common language that you can understand. They are terrifying, right? But maybe not like the Aghoras. The Aghoras are a sect of ascetic Shaivite sadhus who practice a unique and extreme form of Hinduism. They are known for their bizarre and unconventional rituals, such as dwelling in cremation grounds, smearing ashes on their bodies, using human skulls as utensils, and eating flesh from human corpses. They are also devoted to Shiva, the god of destruction and transformation, and seek to attain liberation from the cycle of rebirth by transcending the boundaries of good and evil, purity and impurity, and life and death. The craziest part is the origin and history of the Aghoras are shrouded in mystery, as they are a secretive and elusive group. However, some scholars trace their roots back to the ancient Kapalika and Kalamuka sects of Hinduism, which emerged between the 7th and 8th century CE. These sects were known for their radical and tantric practices, such as the worship of fierce deities, the use of intoxicants, and the performance of sacrificial rites. Over time, these sects came together and evolved into the Aghori tradition, which was founded in northern India by Baba Kenaram, who was unanimously agreed upon to be the founder of the tradition. The Aghoras follow a monistic philosophy, which holds that everything in the universe is one and emanates from Brahman, the ultimate reality. They believe that every person's soul is Shiva, the supreme manifestation of Brahman, but is covered by 8 major bonds that cause ignorance and suffering. These bonds are sensual pleasure, anger, greed, obsession, fear, hatred, pride, and discrimination. The Aghoris aim to break free from these bonds and attain moksha, or liberation, by realizing their identity with Shiva. To achieve this goal, the Aghoris engage in various practices that challenge the conventional notions of purity and morality. They deliberately embrace the impure, the polluted, and the abhorrent, as they believe that these are also manifestations of Shiva and that nothing is inherently evil or sinful. They also seek to transcend the duality of life and death by associating themselves with the dead and the dying. They believe that eating human flesh helps them to break down their ego and connect with the divine. They also believe that it helps them to absorb the wisdom and power of the dead. By living in cremation grounds, they believe that it is a place where the cycle of life and death is played out, and where they can learn to transcend it. They also smear themselves with ash from the dead, as they see ash as a symbol of death and transformation. To them, smearing the body with ash helps to connect with the dead and to learn from them. They often meditate naked, cover their bodies with ash, and use human skulls as meditation bowls. These are just a few of their known practices, as they prefer to be secretive in all their doings. While some tribes are not that welcoming, one tribe that has received outsiders with open arms is the Himba tribe. The Himba are an ethnic group with an estimated population of about 50,000 people living in northern Namibia, in the Kunene region, and on the other side of the Kunene River in southern Angola. Maybe once or twice, you must have seen a picture or two of people from this tribe. They are renowned for their unique adornments and their continued adherence to tradition. Their women are bare-breasted and heavily decorated with symbolic jewelry, and they are mostly known for covering their bodies with otjaize, a mixture of animal fat and ochre, which gives their skin and hair a reddish hue. Traditionally, the Himba people live in wooden huts that encircle a sacred ancestral fire, and their daily work revolves around rearing and herding livestock. For a long time, though, they avoided contact with the modern world, continuing their quiet lives of pastoral cattle herding in the barren corner of northwestern Namibia for generations. They had no contact until the 20th century after the first European expeditions in the remote area. It is noted that the Himba people are polygamous, with the average Himba man being husband to 2 wives at the same time. Their marriage system is also different from what you'd expect, as young Himba girls are married to male partners chosen by their fathers from the start of puberty. To the Himba people, boys must be circumcised before puberty, and immediately they get married, they are considered a man. But that's not the case for a Himba girl. No Himba girl would be considered a fully fledged woman until she bears a child. However, before this marriage can take place, there must be transactions of cattle, which are the source of their economy. This, in other words, means no cattle, no marriage. In these transactions, there is bride wealth, which can be negotiable between the groom's family and the bride's father, depending on the relative poverty of the families involved. In order for the bride's family to accept the bride wealth, the cattle must appear of high quality. Next is Sami tribe. You can find the Sami people in 4 countries, which are Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia. Unlike other tribes of hundreds of people, the Sami tribe has a total population in the 4 countries at approximately 80,000, of whom around half live in Norway. And of the half who live in Norway, around 2,600 make their living from herding reindeer, while the majority of the region of northern Norway is actually used for raising reindeer. Traditionally, most Sami people have supported themselves through fishing, livestock farming, and hunting along the coast, and alongside the large rivers farther inland. Today, a large proportion of the Sami people live outside the traditional Sami areas and have moved into the towns of northern Norway or to the Oslo area. Even more, they still live in traditional Sami settlement areas, but earn their living in the modern service sector, industry, travel, and the public sector. Sami culture has many unique forms of expression, which include joik, one of the oldest song traditions in Europe. A joik is dedicated to a person, an animal, or a place, and the harmonies reproduce the qualities of the object of the song. There's also the gakti, which is the traditional Sami clothing, another unbroken, living tradition, mostly used when dressing up for celebrations or parties. Also, the traditions that have been maintained by the Sami are their crafts, such as tin embroidery, pearl embroidery, weaving shoelaces, jacket seams, wood carving, and knife making are assiduously maintained. Despite the Sami tribe embracing civilization, they won't trade their traditions for anything, making them stand out wherever they are. Karubo. The Karubo are the last unknown tribe to be contacted in the Amazon, as they made their first contact in 1996. They are known locally in Brazil as the Caceteiros, which literally means clubber in Portuguese, and subsequently, they became known as the Head Bashers in the popular press. Wondering how they got these names? This is because they carry war clubs that they use to fight in battle. Unfortunately, 7 of the Brazilian government's FUNAI members have been clubbed to death by members of the Karubo tribe. Surprisingly, the FUNAI has not sought to capture or reprimand the individuals involved, saying that these indigenous Amazonians did not know about Brazilian laws that prohibit killings such as these, and therefore could not be prosecuted. While they have been given strange names, the Korubos call themselves the Dzlala. They speak a language in the Pano-linguistic family that is closely related to the northern Pano dialects that the Matis and Mayaruna Matses Indians speak. However, unlike other tribes that live in the Javari River Valley, such as the Matis Mayaruna Matses and Marubos, they do not tattoo their faces. However, they are readily distinguishable by their characteristic haircut, which is closely cropped in the back and longer in the front. Most of the Karubos are still uncontacted, and most of what we know about them comes from contact with a small group that lives near the FUNAI outpost at the confluence of the Itui and Itaquai rivers in the Javari River Valley of Brazil. The reported leader of this group is a woman called Maya, who was reported to have been involved in the killing of a Brazilian government FUNAI official. According to reports, the FUNAI officials asked Maya and the Karubos to return a tarp that they had borrowed. Maya helped lure the FUNAI officials with smiles to an area where other Karubos were waiting to ambush them, and also helped hold the arms of one of the victims as other Karubos used war clubs to bash him in the head and kill him. The Karubo warrior who participated in the killing of the FUNAI members was later identified as Taven, who offered a reason for his killing, saying, "We didn't know you then." If you know anything about tribes in the Javari River Valley, such as the Mayaruna Matses, then you must know they practice infanticide, and Karubos are not left out. When a child is born with a birth defect such as a cleft palate, the baby is killed. Unfortunately, cleft palate is often frequent in Amazonian Indian populations due to inbreeding. Even older Karubo children are sometimes sacrificed. For example, Maya killed one of her own daughters when she was ill with malaria. She said that she killed her because she was afraid the disease would spread to others. Maasai. The Maasai tribe is a Neolithic tribe from East African countries such as Kenya and Tanzania. They have a culture centered around the belief that God created cattle, especially for them, and they are the custodians of all the world's cattle. For Maasai, life revolves around amassing and grazing large herds of cows, and more than using cattle as a primary income source. They also play an important role in Maasai communal life. Families and clans establish alliances through the exchange of cattle, but consuming the meat and milk of cows is considered a sacred act, one that binds them to their creator. For hundreds of years, the Maasai moved and grazed their herds throughout the Rift Valley without causing damage to the land or its resident wildlife. They did this mainly by migrating seasonally across large swaths of territory, leaving the land plenty of time to recover before cycling back to graze it again. Since their diet also traditionally relies on the milk, blood, and meat of their livestock, the tribe's hunting of game was limited and non-disruptive to the larger ecosystem. Decades ago, the best way young Maasai men proved themselves as warriors was with the ritual killing of a lion. This could be done either single-handedly or in a group, using only their iron spears as weapons. Typically, only male lions were hunted in this initiation rite, known as alamayo, since female lions were considered sacred progenitors of life. Though ritual lion hunting is now outlawed in East Africa, and Maasai will now only kill a lion if it is threatening their livestock, the fierce bravery of the Marani is still revered today. One other thing the Maasai are known for is their physical beauty. Not just their graceful physiques, but for their unique garb and body ornamentation. The most iconic Maasai garment today is the shuka, a woven thick cotton blanket, usually red with a striped or checked pattern in blue or black, which is worn wrapped around the body. Though it isn't traditional in a historical sense, the shuka only replaced animal skin clothing around the 1960s and was purchased rather than made by tribespeople. Today, the shuka is worn by virtually all Maasai across East Africa. The signature garment has been widely emulated by modern fashion designers, including Louis Vuitton, and many high-end jewelry designers have also taken inspiration from Maasai jewelry. In particular, the intricately beaded, brightly colored necklaces and bracelets worn by both men and women. The Maasai are also known for their singing and dancing, but among many, the best known is the Adamu, or jumping dance. In this ritual, young Maasai men gather in a semicircle while rhythmically chanting in unison. Then, each takes a turn, stepping in front of the group and jumping several times straight up in the air as high as he can. The Adamu, usually accompanied by high-energy whoops, and carefully observed by Maasai women standing nearby, functions as a show of strength for young Maasai warriors hoping to attract wives. African safari travelers are often thrilled by the display, and some even attempt the jumping dance themselves. Very few can approach the heights reached by the warriors, though. They have been practicing since childhood. Apatani tribe. The Apatani are a tribal group of about 60,000 people living in the Zero Valley in the lower Subansiri district of Arunachal Pradesh in India. The women in the tribe wear nose plugs, which in a way disfigures them and makes you wonder why they chose to be like that. It all started many years ago when the exceptionally beautiful women of the tribe were captured by neighboring tribesmen in the past. To prevent this from happening, the village elders proposed that each woman insert nose plugs and also have facial tattoos to make them less attractive to the raiders. The dark tattoos were inked on the women's faces typically around the time of their first period. Perhaps the practice began as a precautionary measure to protect the women from abduction, but it grew to become a vital part of Apatani culture and tradition. This age-old tradition was observed until the 1970s, when the government imposed a ban on nose plug incisions. At present, only the last generation of older women from the Apatani villages have prominent facial emblems. a reminder of a cultural practice that is now chronicled in the past. Apart from the nose plugs, the tribe is also known for its colorful culture with various festivals, intricate handloom designs, skills in cane and bamboo crafts, and vibrant traditional village councils called bulyan. This has made Zero Valley a good example of a living cultural landscape where man and environment have harmoniously existed together in a state of interdependence, even through changing times. Such coexistence being nurtured by the traditional customs and spiritual belief systems. Brakpa tribe. The Brakpa can be found in the Aryan Valley, renowned for the people who are, according to legend, the descendants of Alexander the Great's armies. Legend has it that the Brakpa people are the remnants of Alexander's lost army, who stayed behind in his conquest of the Indus River Valley. In truth, this Aryan distinction, dreamed up long ago due to the fair and rare appearances of the isolated peoples of the Brakpa, is not supported by genetic evidence. Still, this isolated culture takes pride in its myths and their uniqueness. Over the years, travelers have been drawn to this unusual valley, providing fuel to their storied beginnings and even their own Aryan preferences. Though their origins are up for debate, they don't joke with their purity, preferring to marry within the tribe. Don't blame them. If they marry outside the group, it can only mean the discontinuity of their physical appearance. There are also several claims of polygamy and polyandry, which is another cultural practice that is peculiar to the tribe. The tribe also has food restrictions, which include eggs, and dairy, including milk and butter. While the reason is unknown, we can agree that the Brakpa tribe is very unusual. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.